Continuing to build your dreams when you don't see a lot of fruits of your labor can be really tough, but I'm going to give you 3 things to help you do that. I'm Rickey Jasper, and this is the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. After getting laid off 2 times in 6 months, I realized I had to be chasing a greater vision in my life. I had to be walking into my calling. I spent time building up a successful fitness apparel business, and then now stepping back in front of camera to talk, to speak more, to hopefully inspire you to chase a greater vision in your life. And my goal with this podcast is for us to do it together. So let's make it happen. What's going on? I'm Ricky, and welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. We are going to talk about some amazing things today centered around your dreams, but we're going to start it off with our head and heart hits. This segment is about what hit me in the head, what made me think logically, and what hit me in the heart, made me feel some type of way. And it's typically a quote or some sort of video that I've seen from social media. Sometimes I know the author, sometimes I don't, but it hit me that way. So today's quote is, "Noah looked like an idiot until it started to rain." I don't know the author. It hit me in the head because I really thought about, from a logic standpoint, Noah was sitting there building an ark before there was any proof that it would rain, which if you look at it, it looks extremely idiotic. That's a logic standpoint. Where it hit me in the feels was there's a lot of faith that goes into that, to doing this great feat with everybody looking at you and having no idea what you're doing, why you're doing it, and you still are so hell-bent on doing this thing. And I think that that's a really cool thing, because I look at my life and I look at areas where I was really scared to take a step, and I look at areas where I felt very emboldened to take a step. I think of my leap of faith to San Diego. I was living in Arlington, Virginia at the time, had a great life, moved back home for a few months to Ashburn, Virginia, and I was like, no, San Diego is the spot. People were like, well, why would you want to give up what you had here? And my thought was, well, if I get to San Diego, there's a lot of things that can open up for me. One, the weather's great all year round, so from a fitness standpoint, I can do a little bit more in that space. The geography allows me to expand my brand in fitness, in open up some things. Once I got there, a few very cool things happened. I was able to get sponsored by bodybuilding.com. I started my own online personal training company. I had a lot of really cool opportunities that opened up just because I was able to get to the spot. I didn't see what was going to happen. I had no idea what was going to happen, and then transition, 7 years later, and I'm in front of camera right now, and I have the confidence to do this because I was able to step into areas that I felt that I wasn't even ready for, that I didn't even see an outcome for before. And so that's, what I want to challenge you all to do today as well. So even if you feel like what you're doing makes you look like an idiot, but from deep down the road, there's going to be something that comes from that, continue to press into that, because at some point in time, the factors will match up in which your opportunity will come to you. Now we're gonna get into our tips and tricks. This is going to be how to continue to build your dreams when you feel like it's not working. I, in my life, have felt like a lot of my dreams have not worked, or they've been incomplete in an area where I wanted them to go. And so there's been a lot of days and a lot of crying nights where I'm like, I just don't feel like this is working, but I have to get up the next day and really push forward. The first tip and trick is remember your why. I think that this is so important because, we tend to be really motivated when we see something, when we read something, when we hear something, and we want to do whatever we're motivated to do at that moment. In that moment, we actually connect with our why that matters. Now, once we get into the real work of it, once we get into the tough days, tough times, where we have to be on, where we have to be energetic and bring passion to the thing, that's where sometimes we forget why we started. Always remembering why you started is so important, because you're able to latch on to that first feeling and that first spark of inspiration. For me, right now, currently, I'm training for a high rocks competition with my brother, and those workouts are no joke. And in the middle of them, I'm like, well, it would be easier and way more comfortable to quit, to go home, make a big breakfast, sit on the couch, relax, not really focus on diving deep into this workout, then showing up for work, showing up for my relationship, showing up for the other areas of my life with a lot of energy. I could just instead I could just go along with it lackadaisically. But in the middle of those workouts, when things get tough, I really remember why I started. And not only do I remember why I started, I think about the people that I would let down if I quit. I'm doing this high rocks competition with my brother. If I don't train hard, I let him down because our score and our time depends on both of us. And so if one of us quits, it affects both of us. It's not always just for you, and it doesn't always just affect you. So make sure that you're thinking about other people as well. And for me, that is why remembering my why is one of the most important things. The second point is find a mentor. As a 32-year-old male, there's a lot of things in life where I just don't know what I don't know. When I was 22, I thought I knew everything. If you knew me back then, if you knew me from probably 16 to 22, 25, maybe even 28, you would definitely think that I knew everything by the way in which I carried myself, when in reality, I really didn't know a whole lot. What I really focus on doing is finding a mentor in areas that I want to progress in and areas that I find are important. Right now, a few areas in my life that are very, very important to me is one, my relationship. I haven't been married for 20, 30 years. I've just been on this earth for 30 some odd years. So when I have mentors in that area, thank God for, my dad and my parents who've been married for 30 plus years. Getting a lot of advice on how to go about certain things, how to be successful in certain things and areas, and your mentor in an area that you're passionate in an area that you are dreaming in, make sure that they've done it in some capacity. The tough thing about social media now is it's very easy to just put a message out there because there's really no barriers to entry. Everybody's an expert about everything. I think I was doing that, 10 years ago as well. I was like, oh, I'm an expert at this, and I'm just going to talk about this, where I'm sitting at home in a cushy life in my parents' house and talking about get out of your comfort zone. It's like, well, I was sitting in my comfort zone, right? So I was doing the same thing. Right now, what I try to talk about are things that I've gone through, and the things that I haven't gone through that I know I will hit at some point, that I know that are an area of my dreams or passions. I really try to talk to someone who has gone through that or who's going through that and get as much knowledge and as much advice. Because what happens is those roadblocks that they faced, you'll face them, and you have the tools that are a whole lot easier for you to combat them. And I'm about to butcher this completely, but I was watching some movie on Netflix with Jonah Hill, and I can't think of his therapist's name, but he had this one point, and he was like, these are your oppositions of life that are going to come against you no matter what. And regardless, you are going to have to use your tools to fight those off. Now, these oppositions will always be there, but you're always going to have to use the tools to fight them off. Now, where do you get the tools? You get the tools typically because you are learning from somebody who already has those tools, who's already utilized those tools, who's already perfected how to use those tools, and who's giving you the knowledge to use them in areas that you need to be successful in. So that's why mentorship is so, so important. I have mentors in that aspect. I have a therapist that I go to. From a fitness aspect, I have, friends who have doctorates in these things that I ask so many deep questions in nutritionists because I'm like, they know something that I don't, and I want to intake knowledge because I want to be successful in that. So when you're building your dreams, find a mentor, invest in a mentor. You're always going to get an ROI. That's a return on investment. You're always going to do that. So mentorship is so huge. That's why I do it. That's why I hope that you do it as well, because you will step through those roadblocks faster if you have somebody to help you. And the third thing that you definitely need to do as you are building your dreams, especially when you don't see the light of day, is fix your focus. I struggle with this immensely. Like, I'm right here with you. I can come on camera and I can be optimistic about a lot of things. Naturally, day to day, I've had to train myself to be more optimistic because I'm typically more of a pessimistic person because I focus on weak areas, I focus on problems, I focus on challenges. And what happens is I'm not focused on the bigger picture. I'm not focused on the future aspect of it. I'm working in a way that's fully focused on like the negativity. So that's something where I've had to fix my focus and I've had to think about, okay, where are areas that my future me wants to be? Where are areas that the future business, I want to get the business to in the future? When you fix your focus to that, it's going to allow you to step into things and do it in the right way. A few years ago, I did a commencement speech for my high school, and I had this analogy, and I called it, my apple pie theory. And it's very, very basic and very rudimentary. But I think about life like this and I think about going after dreams like this. If I'm sitting on my couch and I'm craving apple pie, I'm going to crave it. It's like your dreams. You're going to crave it for whatever reason. Now, if you sit on your couch too long and you don't get up and get it, you're going to get frustrated. It's not going to feel good at all. You're just going to get frustrated. So then what happens is, as you crave it, you make a decision. Okay, I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to get up and get apple pie. Now, let's say it's a homemade pie. You're going to start thinking of the ingredients. You might Google ingredients. You might figure out how you're going to, the things that need to be made into it. Then you're going to think about the logistics of it. Well, how am I going to get to the store and get these ingredients? Then you might think about it from a financial standpoint. Well, do I have the money in my account to go get these ingredients? Then once you've acquired the ingredients, then as you have them all together, they're a hodgepodge of a lot of different things. Then you're sitting with them, and then you have to step through a recipe or a plan, right? And so that's how your focus should be. Think about the future of where you want to be, basically reverse engineer it of how you're going to get there, what you need to do financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally to get that. Once you have all of those and you have all those components, then you start to plan and put them together. And it's because the initial focus of what you're thinking about is fixed, because you're thinking about it from a future aspect, which makes you reverse engineer it to get something in the present. That's what I really focus on right now. I'll go back to the High Rocks thing. I'm like, High Rocks is in a few months. I know where I want to get to. I know the times that my brother and I want to get. So I have to fix my focus. I have to then reverse engineer it, and I have to train accordingly to get that future thing that we want to get to. So fixing your focus is a very, very, very important piece. Train your mind too. Like I said, I'm naturally not the most optimistic person, so I have to train my mind. I have to continually create new neural pathways to get to that area where the more comfortable me, the more, just kind of sit back and go into safety mode is more negative. I'm like, no, we're not doing that today. We're going to condition our mind to go in the right way that I know is going to serve the person that I want to be. So make sure you are fixing your focus to build the future that you want to build. And to recap this whole thing, really how to continue to build your dreams when you feel like it's going nowhere. Number one, remember your why. You have to remember why you started. You have to remember the initial motivation. Number two is find a mentor, somebody who's gone through it already, somebody who can direct, lead, and guide you into the right direction. And number three, fix your focus. Think about the future you. Think about who you want to become, what you want to be doing, and operate and reverse engineer accordingly. And our last segment is our word of the day segment, and it can be your word of the week. It's called word of the day, but it can be your word of the week. Our word is persist. The reason why it's persist is because it's continuing in spite of oppositions. Your dreams will not come without any opposition. The things that you want to do will not come without any challenge or any annoyances. The persistence has to be there. So whenever you have some level of opposition to what you're trying to get through on a day-to-day basis, focus on persisting. And what I like to do is, especially for these words of the day, whenever anything hits that goes against what I know I need to be doing, I actually think of the word. I think of, okay, I need to persist. Right here is where I need to persist, because what it does is, instead of me automatically going into processes that I would typically do just impulsively or to be safe, it slows it down. I don't impulsively react. I'm able to sit back and think about my reaction, and then the word hits, okay, persist. And then I can take a different action in a different way towards an area of my dreams, of my goals, even when times are tough. You do that over and over and over. It's just like taking a step in the right direction. At some point in time, you're going to get to where you need to get to. So make sure that you are persisting each and every day of the week, even when it gets tough. That's what we're here to do. That's what I am doing on a day-to-day basis. I love getting in front of camera. The main reason is because I'm not perfect. I'm figuring it out. I'm doing the best that I can with what I have, with what I know, and I am learning these things. And the cool thing about this is, really, anything that I talk about, typically something I'm struggling with, have struggled with, or right there in figuring it out, and I'm finding ways that work for me too. So this is one that has been huge for me, especially because I love following my dreams, and it's come with a lot of pain in certain areas. So a lot of persistence has needed to happen. So make sure that you are persisting in an area that you want to, no matter what the opposition is. Make a vow to yourself that you are going to persist no matter how it feels, no matter what comes your way, because you have everything you need inside of you to get it done, and we're going to continue to get this done together. Thank you all so much for watching the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. If you like this podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, send it to friends, use a carrier pigeon, do whatever you have to do. We hope that this inspires you to chase your greater vision in your life and for us to continually and consistently do it together.